Hello, this is Martha.
And I am Molly. And we are working on a fun lesson here for our Project Pack 8 videos. And today we're going to plant a garden, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to plant a fun, kind of a whimsical garden, if you will. So we have
I
our
would say this is sort of like a reticula.
Yes, it's a floral reticula.
Yes.
How about that?
For sure.
So we have our fun Gelly Roll pens here. It's great colors. So all of our tools are ready to go.
And those are the all the tools that come in the Project Pack materials. So we have the 5 colors that were in that set, as well as a white charcoal and a graphite pencil.
Right. And we're going to plant our garden on a black apprentice tile that you got in the pack as well. So you may choose a color. I am going to choose this bright green. That was sort of the base inspiration of this little fun idea that we're going to do together, Miss Molly and I. So we aren't going to have a string or borders or anything to get started. And I like to kind of get my jelly roll rolling, if you will. So on the back of my tile, I often do that just to make sure. So the way this is going to start out is we're going to have some wonderful vining stems, and you can watch me for a second if you like. Starting at the bottom corner, and I find this is my challenge to myself, but I'm going to try to make this stem as narrow as I can, or as delicate as I can. At the end of this stem, I'm going to have the beginning of my flower reticula, which is a large seed pod. And off of that are the other stem, or the other petals rather, on either side of that main pod. And this is our reticula that we're going to work with. So I'm going to continue on with each stem growing off of the one before it with a nice curving line. Always turning the tile as I go, for the reason that we always do, for perspective and for comfort of drawing, but also because the Gelly Roll ink needs a little bit of extra time. And so I'm imagining this vine growing, reaching towards the sun. Going off over here. I love the way these gel inks roll so smoothly on the apprentice tile, don't you think?
I know, right?
And remembering that this is a reticula, so you want your petals to not be too tight, not too close together, so that you have room to fill them with all sorts of yummy fragments. Maybe your shapes are a little different or a little more rounded. You can see this is just a fun idea for our little whimsical garden. So maybe we'll start with these. What do you think, Molly?
I love that. Yeah, let's get going with that.
All right, Molly's going to step in now and start filling them. I love these like sort of floral reticula opportunities we have here. So I am going to start filling one of these blossoms, shall we call them here?
Yeah.
And I guess I'm going to fill it with sort of a striping, or it reminds me a little bit of Indirella, the way we're going to do it. And we're going to put these stripes in here, but we're going to add a little tension by not touching them quite to the edges. So maybe I'll zoom in a bit so you folks can see a little bit closer. So I'm going to actually start in the middle, I think, so I can get a grasp on the biggest one first. And I'm going to put a stripe all the way down. Obviously, them getting a little bit smaller as we work our way down, and sort of playing with that tension of them not touching the edges. And you could probably play with these being fatter or thinner. And I'm using this tealish blue color here. I forget the official name. Until I get up to the top there. And that's kind of cool. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing in all of these sections. Again, I like to start in the middle because it kind of gives me a little perspective. For some reason, I enjoy working, moving in one direction, so I flip my tile in between. It's up to you how you like to do it.
Again, that gives it that chance to dry too.
Right? This is like a little garden that might grow on some planet far away, right?
Mm-hmm. Or underwater, I don't know. It has this, I talked about it in my other video, that sort of bioluminescence effect.
Totally. I love the way these colors sort of interact with one another.
They also layer quite well.
Right.
Once you have them good and dry, it's fun to experiment on which ones cover over others and create another whole color.
Which perhaps we'll try that.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how the negative spaces really affect the look of your pattern. So by not attaching these stripes to the edges, we get sort of that tension of that little bit of black. Each time I use these colors, I sort of like see something different. There's a complexity in them that I appreciate in the pigments, or something that's not so like right out of the tube, which I'm really enjoying. All right, so I'm going to take a different color here, and starting from where I started, which I think they are dry enough, I'm going to
No mistakes, Molly.
just play with putting some dots on top of the stripes, which is kind of cool. And it's just a little subtle, kind of putting a fat one in the middle and then some thinner ones on the side. Dots are fun with these gel pens. The trick is to not actually press too hard. Actually, perhaps more let your pen sit a little bit on the surface of the paper just to put it there.
I'm sure by now you are thinking of all the amazing ways you can embellish these blossoms.
That looks so cool. I'm loving that striping dot effect there. Very neat. So I'm going to pick up this light lavender, lovely gel pen, and I'm going to fill in another one of these blossoms with just some sort of alternating triangle shapes. And I like to start in the middle where I have the most space also. So I'm just going to add a little triangle shape and fill it in. And then on the other side, like teeth or a jack-o'-lantern, I'll do it in the opposite space, or the alternate space rather. And turn my tile. I'm right-handed, so I like to keep my hand out of the ink. There.
It's like a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah. But again, that you all of a sudden your eyes are drawn to that negative zigzag space. So I'm going to do all the petals like this, and since I have a triangle right here and a triangle right here, I'll do this one coming out the other side. And you know, it doesn't have to have perfect alignment, but it just is a guide. And as long as your triangles don't touch, you have that lovely zigzag that appears. There. So there's quite a bit of ink there. I think I might let that dry before I play around with it with some charcoal. Although I may take my green pen, my green Gelly Roll, and go over the edges so I don't lose that line. Of course, this is an optional detail, but I do like to define that line sometimes, redefine the line. With a very light touch, or else the ink won't really like flowing over ink that's already there. And on each one of these petals, I'm going to actually just divide it in half. Following the curve. And let's see, in the middle here, I'm going to have these come down like that. And then with a little embellishment at the top. And I'm going to go back and fill in, just coloring in that half that I created. Just kind of creating a striping type of effect. Right now we're in the midst of the doldrums of winter, so thinking about spring garden is pretty exciting at this point, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, these are fun too. I can see like, obviously we're gonna show you how to fill in a bunch of these blossoms, but I'm kind of excited to see what people put behind them and around them, and maybe explore other fillers and
Oh yeah,
kind of play with this idea.
utterly endless possibilities on filling these
That
in.
one's pretty, sort of Art Nouveau looking.
So just some fun, whimsical dots here. I do love how this gel ink literally sits on top of the paper. Maybe we'll do the tips for fun.
Right? I love that.
Fun stuff. You want to do one?
Yes. Okay, Martha, I'm gonna fill these last two beautiful blossoms, and I think I'm gonna go back to using my green pen. And of course, on any of these, you guys can use whatever color pens you want. I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason to which ones you use, but I'm gonna fill this with some orbs. I'm gonna start with the center one because that's easiest for me. And I like to really sort of smush these orbs in here. I like how that sort of creates a purposefulness of these little orbs in each one of these. And I sort of chose the same color that I had done my outline in on purpose because I'm going to switch up colors after that. So I wanted these orbs to kind of blend in with the outside, but I'm not sure if it matters. It was just one option. Turn my tile around here. Really trying to draw that complete orb so we get that look instead of sort of giving up before they meet. And I sort of will, overlap that orb a little bit to make sure it's complete. Little one right there. All right, so
Bubbly.
a little bubbly. And now I think I'm gonna take the purple pen and I'm gonna go back into these orbs. I'm gonna start with this middle one and I'm gonna fill in the orbs, but not quite to the edge. Again, playing with that tension. The black paper offers so much, so you can use it as part of your work just by leaving it. Kind of love the meditation of just figuring out what your next stroke is and then just filling. These opportunities to fill in these orbs is nice. Just letting your eyes follow the gel ink. Actually, I love these two colors together.
Really pretty.
It's like pollen from these sort of abstract flowers. So that's kind of fun.
I think I agree. I like the purple and green.
Right? So I'm going to draw sort of a spiral here till I get to a certain point where I'm just going to continue on these auras. And then I think I might do that on the outside ones too. And I don't know, I'm sort of thinking of leaving those
I was
ones.
just going to say that.
Yeah, just to kind of play with that. And then maybe do some dot work that's a little bit different here. I love the delicate dots you can get with these jelly rolls. All right. I love that.
I think you nailed it. I think it's pollen.
Yes.
It's Zentangle pollen.
So
we're waiting for the Zentangle bees to come and get it.
I know. I'm pretty sure that Martha and I could sit here all day and draw different blossoms with different fragments in them, but unfortunately we don't have the time to do that, and we want you all to explore that too. And I also think that we could play around with some cool stuff on the in-betweens, maybe some hollis, maybe some printemps, maybe some poke leaf. But for now, I think we're going to put some shading in there and then see what happens.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to shade this first one that I had put down because I think that one's probably dry by now. And I'm going to simply add some dark graphite here at the bottom. And I actually really love the way the graphite plays with the gel pens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to add a tiny bit at the top. Trying to ignore the green part. Just go on the inside, but we'll see what happens. And then maybe a little stripe here where they overlap. I like to work with a nice sharp pencil and then kind of put it on its side so I can get a little bit of an angle. The camera does reflect a little bit of this, but in person it looks really pretty slamming. Are you laughing?
I'm laughing. I was trying to laugh quietly, but
She makes fun of me. All right, now I'm taking my white charcoal here, and I'm just going to put a little sort of sparkle here in the middle, all the way across, sort of in the same area. Uh-oh. then use my tortillon designated for my white. I just love like the complexity that is going on here. And like back in over just in a little couple places and add those dots back in. Not too many, just to emphasize that. A little bit of white charcoal in the middle, not too much. And then the last one, this one here, add a little bit to the bottom. I love that one, how it kind of brightens up the middle there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fun.
And I like the way the white charcoal looks. I enjoy the sort of, so I'm just adding,
Frosty.
yeah, kind of going over this middle of the original there just to add a little detail.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Martha, 2 more left. Oh, I love these.
All right, I'm going to go to this zigzaggy one here, and with my graphite pencil, on this center one, I'm going to add graphite to the outside long edges here. Of course, you can't really see the graphite on the black, but it does have a reflective quality that is a detail. And, well, I'll show you the middle one first, and then I'll put some, I'll smooth that out just a little bit. Kind of really gets it into the gel. And then a nice bright stripe down the middle that I'll soften just a bit. And then on these ones, I will just do graphite on the left edge, the inside edge. And you may choose to leave your blossoms bright without shading or charcoal. But it's fun to experiment with it. And then I'll do the white on the outside. And so what happens is your colorful gel becomes more of a background. Again, the camera kind of does some funny tricks with the reflecting, but I think it looks really cool.
Oh, it looks super cool, yeah.
All right, so this last one here, I think I'm just going to start with the white and put some white charcoal on all the tips here.
I like also how like the adding the graphite and the charcoal sort of lifts it up from the background, so you like sort of have these like dimensional objects that are on this dark background, which is cool.
And I think I'll put the white at the bottom too. I'll just kind of play around with this as the the base where the stem comes in.
I can just imagine what all your tiles are looking like right now. Sort of playing with the layers and going back in with your gel pens and touching up and adding to. And very cool. I love that, Martha.
It's getting fun. Can we add a couple more? Just a couple more little ones?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to go back with that bright green gel pen again and maybe just add some smaller blossoms. I'm going to sort of play around with a stem coming here and coming behind. Again, trying to have that fine, fine stem. And this one might bump into one next to it. That's okay. It's what flowers do. Maybe that one there, and maybe a small one over here. Well, you can imagine how much more you can go, but we'll start with that. I think I'm just going to do a little knight's bridge in the middle here. Maybe divide it 2 lines down. And then creating my checkerboard. So that's kind of busy, so I think I might just do every other one.
But these shapes are kind of artichoke-y.
Oh, they are. They're very artichokey.
When we were kids, artichokes were a huge treat, and they were our favorite meal to have. And we would get them in our Easter baskets.
Yep, we would get artichokes in the Easter baskets, and then Mom would cook them on Easter Day. We thought we may as well have a pot of gold in our Easter basket.
I don't know, these are pretty cool.
This reminds me of a game we played too when we sometimes sitting in a restaurant with little kids. We used to play this game, the face game, remember?
Yeah.
But we could do this instead. We could just do blossoms, and you'd be challenging. The next person would have to draw, each person would have to draw something fantastic. Maybe a little aura here.
Oh, that's cool. Let's play around with that.
And maybe this little one hasn't quite figured out what it wants to be yet. I think I'll just fill these petals in. Right?
Right? Little dots. Oh, I like that. It's kind of tulipy.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, just for fun, I think I'm going to go and add a little bit of flux in here. And I think I'm just going to sort of kiss the vine and edge it.
You can see that our blossoms are sort of scattered and they're heavy. So I think a little foliage to lift them up and to fill in the spaces would be a really nice touch right now.
So I'm just adding sort of these sort of leaf-like petals here.
I would like that a lot. And the nice curvy shapes, I think, are very complementary to the pointy blossoms.
But I really think we could probably play around with some different things. Maybe poke leaf here.
Yeah, any of those
Like I said,
tangles would be beautiful.
Maybe some hollis. That was a fun one that just came out.
Even Muka could dance around those vines a little bit.
Just sort of fills the space, right? I'm putting a little vein in them as I go along here. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason where they go or how many you put in.
Just watch that wet ink.
Yep, of course.
Again, these project packs that we are sharing with everyone is, we want to give you that gift of a recipe, an idea to spark your own creativity. And we are really excited to see what you do, where your garden grows and what kind of blossoms you come up with. So hopefully we get to see some of that on the app maybe.
Right.
Right?
And it's fun to sort of explore reticula and fragments, like, oh, maybe it doesn't have to be a square or a circle. It can be a petal shape or perhaps something even different. So
I love how those flux petals are really letting that original stem sing. It really is. It sort of shows you that space that was left at the beginning.
we always laugh about flux because it's one of those tangles we all draw slightly differently. But it is nice to fill a bunch of space, and it's sort of has a romance to it as something maybe that existed a long time ago in old manuscripts and moldings. And
I can imagine having a vine like this as a border around your artwork. It'd be beautiful.
oh, right.
Or with a different palette of colors.
I guess you can just go on and on, right?
I think you could.
So some of these I'm trying to layer behind a little bit for fun. All right, one more. I probably could sometimes I don't know when to stop.
You said it, not me.
I know. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop there though. Maybe add a little shading to that one left over. Not much though, I don't think it needs much. Just to kind of tie it in with the others. And then, I love these dots. I think I'll add a couple more dots.
In fact, the one without dots is looking a little sad.
Go. Well, I think that is where the gel pens really shine, is with any kind of this dot work. You may find yourself sort of adding it everywhere because it does make actually a difference in the work.
All those details.
Yeah. All right. And I think for now, let's leave the flux. Yeah, with no shading. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, I like it that way.
Okay. So that was pretty fun, you guys. Thanks for joining us. I can't wait to see all the gardens you create. Here's another one Martha created earlier that has some different reticulas in it. And
Fragments too.
yeah, super cool. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you soon.